Probably should be eating before filming this video. Hey, what's up you guys? So this week's video is going to be a bit different, something I've never actually done before, and that is going to be a book review. Now, I've not really thought about doing this before, but I read a book and I've not long finished it. And I'm not kidding you, this book I connected with so much and so deeply, to the point I didn't even want to stop reading it. I was very debating whether to read it again. But that is the book called All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I'm not going to give the book away too much in case anyone wants to read it. It says, they meet on the ledge of the school bell tower, and so their story begins. It's only together they can be themselves. But as Violet's world grows, Finch's begins to shrink. How far will Violet go to save the boy she has come to love? Now, I heard so much about this book, so I literally had to buy it and I had to read it because everyone that had just posted pictures or videos said they were so good and they loved it so much, they laughed, they cried, blah blah blah. So I'm like, I'm gonna give this book a read, and so I did. I went out and bought it, started reading it that day, and I'm not kidding you, from the first page I read this book, I was hooked. It did take me quite a while to read because I've been busy and everything and I can't read all the time because I've got things to do, but towards the end I must have cried about 5 times plus whilst reading this book. I'm not kidding you. And then my heart was on edge, my heart was breaking, and the stories were so amazing, and it was just, see, I'm speechless. Now, I'm not really one for like lovey-dovey kind of books. I'm more of a autobiography kind of person to read a book, or I like to read Stephen King books, because I'm just that sort of person. But obviously this is quite a love story book, but it's not like your everyday love story. Like, obviously he finds a girl, they kiss and all that blah blah blah. This love story is a love story you have never read about before, and I'm not kidding you, it is insane. I'm one of these people that don't like to go back and read the book again. If I've read it, then I tend to just leave it. I tell a lie, I've only done that with one other book, and that is Username Evie by Joe Sugg. That is one of my favourite, well, it's not really a book, it's a comic strip, but it's amazing. But this book, I can't even describe. Basically, Violet and Finch, he's called Theodore Finch, if I'm saying that right, I'm sorry if I'm not. They meet on the school bell tower where they go to commit suicide. This happens on a regular basis to do with Finch, but this is a one-off thing with Violet. And he saves her, but then it goes around school that Violet saves him, which she did kind of, but he did save her as well. And then ever since then, they grew and grew and grew. She was a very sort of shy person and was suffering, and he made her better, basically. They're doing a school project, and I don't want to give so much away, but I feel like I need to explain this book. Basically, they have a school project, and he's like, let's do it together, and it's basically they have to go and explore the place they live. And then they make adventures regular, but then things turn bad, and well, for Finch, whilst Violet's then growing, Finch is then sinking, like it said, and I'm not telling you any more of that because you need to read the book. I'm honestly going to leave it on edge, although I'm one of these people that needs to tell someone. I'm like, it happened, and it's like, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to ruin the book for you guys if you're going to read it. But this book, I'm not giving you this book. This is the best book I've ever read. And I probably sound like so bad right now. I'm like proper praising this book, but it's just so good. It's amazing. You need to read it. It's best book I've ever read. I like it as well because I did actually read Jennifer Niven's author's note at the end as well about why this book occurred and what she'd been through and that. And I love at the end of C, it's got suicidal numbers in it for like the UK, the US, Australia, blah blah blah. For if you're feeling down and everything. And I feel like I want to talk about that for a moment because I don't normally talk about it with the bloody hell is that? I don't normally talk about it with anyone else. I tend to just stick to myself about it. But I feel like it's became a lot popular nowadays than it did back then, but although it's still an ongoing thing that suicide does occur, a lot of people have depression, anxiety, bipolar, blah blah blah, and a lot of people are suicidal. And this chair. And I feel like we should all take a note and just look out for one another. And if you know that you've got a friend, you've got a family member that you know is suicidal and is going through a rough time, and you know they have problems, they're depressed or whatever, then to just check up on them to make sure they're okay. I have been through tough times. I will probably explain that in another video if you want to hear it, but I have been through a tough time and I did go, and it does stay with me. It's not like you can just be like, you know what, I'm cured, I'm not depressed anymore, I've got no more anxiety, I'm not suicidal anymore. It doesn't work like that. Coming from someone who does not talk about it with anyone else. I talk about it with my boyfriend, but that doesn't really work because it's hard to talk about it to someone who doesn't understand it fully, because it's easier to talk about it with someone who has been through it, who knows what you're going through, because they know exactly how you're hurting and everything. Whereas you try to talk to someone, they're like, you need to go see a doctor, you need to be put on pills, you need to be put in an insane asylum, we need to make sure that you're in the house under lock and key. When it's like, no, to be honest, I believe it or not, I've had people go to me, you know what, you need to see a doctor. And that's just from friends, my boyfriend mostly, where he's like, you need to see a doctor, you need to get yourself checked out and everything. I'm like, but I don't. Like, I don't feel like there's something wrong with me to a certain extent that I need to bother someone else's time, that someone else could be really urgently needing it. But yeah, I feel like people shouldn't be afraid about talking about their problems. If they feel suicidal, then to literally ring up their best friend or any friend or family member and be like, I really need someone to talk to and I really need someone to be with me right now. I feel like these days a lot of people are too scared to mention it to anyone. I don't like talking about it myself. A lot of the time I try to talk about it, but I feel like I'm bothering people. It's just hard to explain, and like I said, reading this book really connected with me in a massive way, because I could feel what Finch was going through and I could feel how sad it was, and I was literally like on edge, because it made me feel like I'm literally not the only person that does this, I'm literally not the only person that feels alone or does these weird things to make sure I'm okay. So yeah, reading this book did connect with me and to my heart massively, and I was so gutted when I finished reading it because I didn't want it to end at all. I feel like people should read this book, and not just for the love story. I know that people are going to be like, oh no, I don't want to read it because of the love story, but although it's kind of a love story, it's kind of not. It's an emotional roller coaster, I can tell you that. I can tell you that massively. It's such an emotional roller coaster. But I loved it so much, and I give it, out of 5, a solid 10. I would definitely read it again, and I'm most probably going to. I'm currently reading another book, but it shouldn't take me long to read. And I might just literally have to read this book again. All I want to say is, if you're feeling alone and you're feeling really down, depressed and suicidal, tell someone. You're not alone. Although you might think you are, you're not alone, and I promise you that. Talk to me. I'm on social media constantly. I will reply to you. Yeah, that's it for this week, guys. I'm sorry this kind of like went onto a ramble about something else and then back to the book and everything. But yes, this book is the best book I've ever read. You should go read it. But it's All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. Give it a read. Like I said, it's a solid 10 out of 5. But yes, that's it for this week, guys. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, then give it a thumbs up anyways. And I'll see you guys next week with a new video.